This week, I get to share a conversation with my oldest friend, Lex Daddio of Daddio's Kitchen, about finding freedom with food. Lex shares about how a technology fluke turned her Instagram into her livelihood, her journey with an eating disorder, and parenting to help your kids have a healthy relationship with food. This episode is full of some childhood love and a lot of vulnerability. And if hearing people talk about eating disorders is triggering for you, I want you to go ahead, skip this episode. You can find another one in our queue to listen to.
Everybody's learning. Everybody's growing. Everybody's got to start somewhere. How the wise one grows.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to How the Wise One Grows. So I am all kinds of jumpy today because I have my childhood best friend sitting across the table from me. So I really need to take a moment to breathe. So just take a moment to settle in wherever you are. And if it feels safe for you, you can gently rest your eyes or soften your gaze at a point in front of you. And notice where your body touches the earth. Know that you can come back to this sensation anytime that you lose focus or your attention drifts. And take a big breath in and a big breath out. Inhale, fill your chest, fill your belly with air. Exhale, open your mouth, let it out. One more big inhale. And exhale. And return to the sensation of your body touching the earth. And you can slowly open your eyes as you return to this space. Thanks for landing here with me.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So I'm so excited because today we have Lex Daddio.
You can call me Alexis.
I can
if
call you
prefer.
Alexis. So this is hard because Alexis is like my oldest childhood friend.
Preschool days.
Yeah, preschool days. Probably my very first friend.
Yes. Yep. Mine too.
Alexis used to
Well, mine is Nikki, but
minus Nikki, yeah.
in case she listens.
Hey, Nikki. My mom ran a preschool out of our garage growing up, and Alexis came to the preschool, and I was spoiled because
the literal best preschool ever.
it was so fun. But Alexis would we were so into kittens. I don't know how both of us just always had kittens
I don't know.
growing
so
up.
many kittens.
But she would bring kittens into my bed to wake me up in the morning.
Like a
so I'd
basket
come
full of
down.
kittens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd wake up to Alexis and kitten kisses.
Yep. Those were the days.
Yes. So that's how I know Alexis.
Yes. So you can call me Alexis.
Yeah. I'll try Lex.
That's all right.
But for those of her who know her through Restoring Radiance and Daddio's Kitchen, today we have Lex Daddio. So if you followed their Instagram from the beginning, Lex started the Instagram Restoring Radiance back in 2014. It was a rough time in her life, and she started it as a personal food and exercise journal when she was going through an eating disorder. Her Instagram went through so many changes. I believe it was an accident, right?
Yes,
that it became
was.
public.
Yep. I accidentally it was totally a secret forever. And then anyway, yeah, you can keep going.
We'll go back to that. And Restoring Radiance will always have a special place in her heart because she has had to go through the darkness to get to where she is now. We firmly believe that exposing your darkness into the light is one of the first steps to truly healing. Through recovering and so many life changes, she fell in love with baking. After making her first homemade chocolate chip cookie recipe in May 2022, she can't stop creating baked goods. Now, here we are. She changed the original Instagram name to Daddio's Kitchen, and now it's a family affair, and it's really fun because on there you see Thomas, who's her wonderful husband, a great cook, and also author of a new book called Cookie Day.
That's right. Children's book.
So cool. And you see her 3 boys, which I had
It's still mind-blowing.
the most fun the last time I was at your house because I don't know if I told you this even, but as I was playing with Thomas and
Like Little T?
Yeah, Little
Yeah.
T, and like we were in the
Treehouse?
the
Yeah,
treehouse, and I was just like having a moment of like, oh, I know how to play with you
Yeah.
because like I played with your mom when we
Yeah,
were this
I know.
age. Like I could like feel the
so funny.
similarity.
It's so funny.
And it like
yeah.
felt like I was playing with you. I was
And
like,
he loved you because you
I
went down the
love-
slide and you played. He's like, wow, she's fun.
she's the fun friend.
Where did she come from?
I need to come back and see.
Yes, you do. He loved you.
But now you have 3 boys.
Yes.
And
Very.
how old is Roman now?
So they're 4, 2, and then Roman is going to be 9 months soon.
Oh my gosh.
It's a wild ride. It is a wild ride. They are like the best thing ever. And I know one day they'll treat me like a queen because I'll have all boys, but they are wild.
Oh my gosh.
It's like if we have another boy, it'll be like I am just going to fully embrace the boy mom world.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just going to be
I
like,
feel like you
straight
already
up,
are.
Yeah, straight up boy mom. There's no going back. And yeah, it'll be fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing a bit about, again, how Restoring Radiance started and kind of what you were going through during
Yeah.
that time, and then the transition into Daddio's Kitchen a little bit more?
Yep, I'll try not to make it long. But basically, it started back in 2014, so it's been like 9 years.
That is
So
so
a third of my
crazy.
life, which is wild when you think about it that way, right?
Yeah.
And so basically started as Restoring Radiance. I was in college. I started the Instagram. It was before anybody did, like Instagram was just starting. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like, there was no businesses on there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? People just like
It
literally
was
had
you would
instant
show a
photos
picture
at
of
all
your
times.
day,
That was
yeah.
it. I would literally show my breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
But it was when I was getting into like healthy food, air quotes, because everybody has a different term about healthy these days.
Mm-hmm.
But I was getting into like just more like worrying about nutrition, whatever. But I was also going through an eating disorder. So it was kind of like, and it was private. It was my like personal food and exercise journal for like me to literally post like my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was almost like an accountability
Mm-hmm.
journal.
There are some apps that like function.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, literally. I'm pretty sure I had like an app and that, and I was
Yeah.
doing both. And it was just kind of like my way of trying to like see the light through it, like to get through it. Kind of. It was just like my own reflection, I guess, like your own journal.
Yeah.
And anyway, one day, then it did get to the point where like a couple of girls were kind of doing it, and I started following them, and they'd follow me, and we just became like this little community. And then one day, I accidentally made it public. I don't know what I was messing with the settings. I don't know what I did. And all I know is that my roommates came and knocked on my door, and they're like, "What is this thing you're doing?" Because it was that time where like Instagram would say like, "Oh, your friend
Oh, yeah.
Alexis Phillips at the time like just joined Instagram as Daddio's or whatever, Restoring Radiance." And they're like, "What is this that you've been doing under our roof and we didn't know?" Like,
Yeah.
it was just like I was just like sharing food, whatever. And I was mortified, because first of all, I was like scared to even eat food. I was like petrified of food because I was like, food was just like a very scary thing for me at the time. Just like, it was just like all negative. It was just like a bad thing to me because it was the way I like, harmed myself through binge eating. And so anyway, so then I remember I saw a guy on campus that I hung out with, and he was like, "Wow, I follow your Instagram." And I was like, I'm done. I'm literally I'm freaking out. It just died inside. And oh my gosh, it was so scary. And then just like, for some reason, I don't know what kept me going, but
Yeah.
I just kept doing it. And there were so many times I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm like done. It's taking up too much time. So many people would see like, "Why are you spending so much time doing this like hobby?" I mean, I wasn't making money or anything.
Yeah.
It was just like literally, and I was spending a lot of time doing it. But sometimes when I get really like focused on something, I like can't focus on anything else. And so I was like very one shot brain right then. Anyway, so through the years, I ended up keeping it and just kind of told the story of my eating disorder through it. There was one point where I finally really opened up and told the story, and just like an influx of people came back telling me like, "Oh my gosh, I deal with this too," or "I deal with an eating disorder," all this stuff. And so we just like really connected from there. And just like people just started following like crazy. And I was like, oh my God, it was just so mind blowing. I was just like, why would people want to follow me? Like, and I don't like the term follow because I don't want people to actually, I just want it to be like a place of light and like inspiration, but not like telling you like, buy this or do this or, go here or what, like, just, I hope it's a place where everyone feels welcome and it's like, just a safe place, like a light in the darkness of the app, where a lot of it can be very dark on there. And so I just pray that we can be a light in the darkness of it all. But anyways, so I just kept going, and then got married. And so people that have followed me from the beginning have seen so many life changes. But got married to Thomas, who I've known since I was 7, which you've known forever too, which is so
like,
funny.
Growing up, Alexis was always in love with Thomas. Like
to
since
everyone
we
know.
were probably like 5.
Yeah, I
like,
named my cats after him.
Yeah.
Thomas Joseph. And my
Yeah.
brother told me, you're not going to love him forever. You need to change them. So I was like,
And
all
you
right.
said,
So
sorry, Will, you were wrong.
he was wrong. He was wrong. And I proved him wrong. But I named them my second love, Ben and Jerry. Obviously, ice cream. So it's fine. But I still proved him wrong. And now my son is named Thomas Joseph. So there we go. But anyway, so basically I kept it. And just then I think it was, I actually don't know what year, like, companies started reaching out. I wasn't married yet, so
I think
got
it
married in
was.
2017,
Yeah, I think it was right when I moved back from
Yeah.
Nashville. I remember
Yeah.
like I slept over with you one night, and you like had
like
the
all these
pantry
products.
full of all these products, and you're like,
Yes.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I didn't, and I still know I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, that was like when companies were like, "Can we send you this? Can we send you this? Can we send you this?" And it was like, "Oh my gosh, sure!" Like they were just sending me product for free. I'm like, "Why? I don't know, but sure." We barely get products anymore because we just like say no to like everything unless it's something we like really love, or we just buy it ourselves. Just like it just is like so overwhelming, and now they
Yeah.
expect so much out of you, and it's like unless I like really genuinely love the product, I'm not gonna like just say yes.
Yeah.
So and we just get so many people coming in asking for stuff. But you can also discover some really cool products through it.
Yeah.
And just things and stuff and people's businesses. And so we like to support like people we can, especially like local and stuff when we can. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. But anyways, so yeah, so I think companies started reaching out around 20, I would say 16, 17 maybe. And then I just remember like my first paid post, which I think was like $100 or like 50, it might have been $50. Either way, it was wild. And it was just like, people would pay me to like share their product. This is so wild. Anyway, long story short, so then that's kind of where we got and how it moved more into like sharing food products and working with brands and stuff. Because that just kind of grew and whatever. And then Thomas and I got married in 2018. And then so many times I was like, I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit. And he just kept saying, just stay on. And I'm like, I don't know why. Why do we have this thing? Like, I don't know why. Why are we here? Why are we a part of it? Because honestly, if I didn't have this, I don't know if I would even be on social media.
Yeah.
Which is a funny thing because I actually like I try to stay off more.
Yeah.
And so it's just funny because
Well, yeah,
it's
your
like,
personal account is like
yeah.
seldom touched.
Yeah,
you know?
barely.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I posted a photo of the boys on Christmas, and I was like, oh, like probably my like yearly photo or my quarterly photo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably just like wouldn't be on there very much personally. But there are some really cool stuff you can find on, and especially like. Yeah, I mean, there's some amazing.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Exactly. There's some amazing people out there and really cool things to follow. But anyway, I digress. I'm going all over the place. But anyway, so basically, got married, and then Thomas decided to quit his job in 2019 because things were going really well. Honestly, it was probably a mistake on our end. We've reflected back on this now because we didn't really have a plan and like where we headed and where we going with it. It was just like, oh, this seems like this is working, and maybe we should like go all in with it. Well, we had one child, and we weren't really planning for the future or like thinking ahead. We were buying our first house and like living in like 8 different areas, 8 different places while we were buying our house. And we quit, and we had big plans to do YouTube and all this stuff, and it just never happened. And honestly, I think if we were to do YouTube ever, it would probably be now. I would love to do YouTube, but just not quite yet. Just because I feel like I need a little more consistency and time in our life with the kids.
Yeah. Fair.
And I don't want to add another thing on our plate at the moment. But anyway, so then 2020, I think, is when we changed the name to Daddio's Kitchen, and it was so crazy. It was like I had dealt with my eating disorder for so long, and through Instagram, it didn't heal me, but like through the time of Instagram, getting married, just as the years went on, like so much healing happened, and like still today I feel like I'm healing, and not even as much of a relationship with food, but like I had stomach problems for a really long time, and like a lot of girls do that dealt with eating disorders, and like my stomach was like still a wreck until honestly like last year, and this is the first year of my life where I feel like I actually like feel totally healed and like comfortable. Like I was just like in pain for so long, and it was almost like years of like the hurt done to my body that I was like almost paying for in a way.
Yeah.
Because they say
Well, your gut health is really
exactly,
impacted.
and they say it can really take, like, as long as you had an eating disorder, it can take to heal. And I had it for like 7 years. So
Yeah.
we're not even fully out of the 7 years yet, but it's like crazy because it's crazy to me how I don't even think about food the way I used to. And so all that has just happened throughout, and I don't have like a 10-step here's how to heal.
Yeah.
Because I really think it's very individualized. I feel like you can't do that. I also feel like by the grace of God, I was healed through it all. And it took so much time and so much change and just like different things in my life that happened, and like having kids really helped it for me in the time. Some others might not, like it might be harder, you know. So it's, I think it's just, all I know is that I feel for anybody dealing with it, because it is like so it takes all of your brain capacity. It takes all of your mental, you can't even like, I don't even felt like I could even like see anybody outside of my own head. If that makes sense. Like I was incapable of like being a friend, of helping others, of like, even because I was so self-focused on myself, because I was just like really struggling, that everything was so inward that I couldn't even like, I feel like I was like, I had blinders on. Like I couldn't even see anybody's needs outside of my own.
Yeah.
Which probably is why kids really like opened my eyes to being like, whoa. But then having through that time, just so we ended up changing to Daddio's Kitchen as we moved into like us wanting to cook. Thomas has always been an incredible cook and the most intuitive type of eater I've ever met in my entire life. And I used to study the way he ate. So I was like, you are such a weirdo. I have never seen anybody eat the way you do. Like he literally could eat so much at one time. And I would be like, that would be a binge for me.
Yeah.
But like, it was so normal for him. And it was like, it wasn't like, he wasn't overeating. He wasn't uncomfortable. It was just like, he'd have days where he didn't eat a lot and days where he ate a lot more. And it was like, I don't understand you.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make sense. I'm so like
I think we often treat like eating and diet like a machine.
Yeah.
Like I need to charge the
like,
battery for this long, or like eat
exactly.
X, Y, and Z, but it's like we're people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's going to be
and
different.
Like my kids have taught me that so much too. Some days they're starving and they want to eat all day, and other days, I mean, they barely touch their food, and I'm like, oh, my mind is blown. Like it's just so wild, and it's just like, that's just the way we were born.
Yeah.
And it's so cool actually, because I feel like all of that's really like opened my eyes. I haven't even really thought about it in forever, because I'm just like used to like
you're in it.
Yeah, I'm just in it. I just haven't even thought about it, but it is really cool. And so Thomas has always been a really good cook. Like in the beginning when we got married, he never really cooked much. I didn't know he was good, but he cooked all the time in college. And I tried to cook when we got married, and I'm not very good at it. Okay, like. And I just remember one time he made a meal, and I was like, why do I cook? What am I doing?
Why have I been trying?
And from that day, I've handed it over the thing. I mean, I can make certain things.
I applaud that.
Yeah. I can make certain things for sure, but I'm really good at baking.
Yeah.
But he is, when it comes to cooking, I mean, he's just like 1,000 times better.
I think it's like different personality types
Oh,
of
it
baking
is.
and cooking. Like
Oh.
I can't bake for
I'm
the
so
life
measured.
of me, but I can. Yeah,
Yeah.
cook is like experimenting,
Yes.
play.
Yes,
like, I can
exactly.
do
It's
that.
like a creative art. And baking, I guess, is your own creative art, but like with creating recipes and stuff, that's like my own like type of art type thing. But like I like when it's like I follow a recipe, and Thomas is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So cooking and baking, yeah. But anyway, so he can cook. He's incredible at it. So then it was like, well, we used to always used to story through all of our meals. Like we would make these meals, and I would show him making them. Now we don't have time for that anymore, and there's always children sleeping or screaming in the background usually, or running, which is fine, but it's kind of loud. And so we used to do that. So it was like people loved watching it, and so we kind of that like moved us into Daddio's Kitchen. We decided to change it, and then that's when I fell in love with baking. Actually, I think it was it was right after Noah was born. Noah was born April 2020. And I made my first chocolate chip cookie recipe. It was the first time I'd ever made a recipe my own. Like, I've only ever used recipes, and then I, like, created one. And it was like, whoa. It was like a...
I've made those chocolate chip cookies. They're
Thanks.
good.
Thanks. It was just kind of like an out-of-body, like... Whoa, I didn't know I could do that. Like it was like and from there I just like caught a fire. And like I have been baking since. Now I'm just like obsessed with all things sourdough, and I make so much bread and stuff like that. And it's like I just feel like it's such a way to like serve my family and love my family. And like I can't cook great. I mean, I can cook fine, but I'm like Thomas just is so much better. But like baking and bread and stuff like that is like such a easy is such a like a way for me to serve them because they love it. It feeds them, makes them like just bringing us all back to the table and eating together and having family dinners and making that special and breakfast and all of those things. And so anyway, long story short, this is my description here, like 20 minutes in. Now we're Daddio's Kitchen, and we basically just kind of cook. Like we're actually kind of moving. Well, not really moving, but focusing more this year on like more back to the basics cooking. So like more traditional, like the way your grandma would make stuff, and
Love
like
that.
we've just been having so much fun like using like real ingredients like raw milk and like the good butters and like homemade sourdough and like more cooking from scratch type stuff.
Yeah.
But also quick because we do have 3 kids, and so like we understand like everybody's
gotta
kind
be
of
manageable.
a time crunch.
Yeah.
But like kind of just like bringing us all back to the table and like encouraging people to cook at home, even like just to start, and like because I just feel like food is so community wise, and this is like the way I always, it's so like life giving, like life around the table and like talking, and I feel like that's where the best conversations happen.
Yeah.
And so just kind of trying to like encourage people to get back to the table, because this is like what I've always prayed for and always like wanted in college. I always wanted to own a bakery.
Really?
Yes, but I was like petrified of, I never ate sweets back in the day unless
Yeah.
I binged on them. Like that was it. It was like, so I was scared of them forever. And so now it's so cool to be on like such the other side of like, like they don't rule me anymore. Like they don't like, I can make them and eat them, enjoy them and move on. Like whereas before it was like, I mean, one bite of a cookie was like a make it or break it of my day.
Yeah.
Which is like insane, but like honest.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that's where we're at now.
Yeah.
That's how we're Daddio's Kitchen.
I love it. There's so many elements there that I want to like come back to. But first of all, I think I really want to like point out how with Restore Ingredients, I think why it bloomed and just like flourished and people were drawn to it was because it was like so vulnerable and so authentic.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a key component to healing is being
Yeah.
able to like share that and recognize that you're not alone in it.
Oh yeah.
So like by sharing your story, I think having others be drawn to it could have impacted the healing and vice versa. Like that helped
sure.
the healing of others.
I think for sure, especially like I always say like light exposes darkness. Yeah, that's it. I always used to say it backwards. Light exposes darkness. That's right. So like bringing things into the light, like being vulnerable,
Yeah.
talking to people, saying like letting people know, like letting people in. Because if it just sits in you and you don't tell anybody, it'll fester and
It builds
grow
and
and
builds,
build. And
yeah.
it's like you have to tell some, like just to find one person that you can like be comfortable telling. And for me, that was Thomas at the time.
Yeah.
But it just depends on who it is for you. But just like one person, if you can tell them and talk them through it. Like I just feel like you feel so alone in it, but then like really once you like, I think there's like a crazy statistic. It's something about like 80%. I'm probably getting it wrong, but it's something very high of women deal with an eating disorder.
I believe it.
And it's like, oh my gosh, like when you think of it like that, it's like you're not alone.
No.
I mean, and men too.
Yeah.
And it's like you are not alone. And it's like so many people deal with it.
And
so
there's such a spectrum of it. Like
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
and when you look, I mean, looking throughout the course of my life, I can point times where like I wasn't as healthy with my relationship with food
Yeah.
then. And like, at this point I was. And it doesn't always reflect your weight either.
No. Oh, no.
I think I was most restrictive on myself when I weighed the most,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I just think it's something that we don't talk about enough, but like most people are thinking about it
Yeah.
quite regularly.
Yeah.
Do you mind
sure.
sharing what binge eating is,
Yes.
what a binge eating disorder is?
Yeah. So essentially, I went from like 2 ends of the spectrum. I went with like, which this was actually not a term when I was going through it, so I actually didn't know. But orthorexia is also like the obsession with eating healthy, like to a point where it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
But so binge eating essentially is like, I think there's different ends of the spectrum of it. So basically, it's like when you literally stuff yourself to the point of like such discomfort that like, I mean, I would like eat until like I couldn't move.
Yeah.
Like I felt sick. I felt like I was gonna throw up, and I tried multiple times, but I never could get myself to do it.
Yeah.
so it's like, it's basically almost like, yeah, like that's essentially it. Like I just remember I used to like drive through like, and I never really ate fast food, but I would drive through like fast food places and get like from multiple places. It was literally like I was like stuffing my feelings to the point until I couldn't feel. But I was so uncomfortable. I mean, I would just go back to my apartment or my like house with my girlfriends and lock the door and just like watch Netflix for the rest of the night, and then like plan out how I was going to be healthy that week and do a juice cleanse. And it was like, it was so unhealthy.
So like one extreme to the
other. Yeah. And then that probably, like, because of the unhealthiness and the back and forth, it was the juice cleanses were probably causing me to binge because I was starving after that. And it's like, it doesn't have to be an unhealthy thing, but it was an unhealthy thing for me at the time.
Yeah.
But I was so obsessed with healthy eating, so then it was like, if I did one thing outside of it, I would binge.
Yeah.
And so that was like,
it was like control on a big level.
Oh yeah. And there was like a lot of life stuff going on at the time that like made me feel very out of control and overwhelmed, and so it was like the one thing I could control, and so I like went all
really
in.
controlled it.
I went like real all in. So
and then I have heard you talk about, and you talked about this with Thomas Little, but intuitive eating a lot, and that being a part of your healing. What is intuitive eating?
Yeah, that's also a great question. So it's funny because when that was kind of part of my healing of like learning what intuitive eating is, and then now at this point I always like to say like, I feel like at this point we're just like normal eaters. I think intuitive was part of my healing journey, and I'm not like against intuitive eating at all, but it's essentially like getting back to the way that your body was made, more of like eating like a child. Like they're so intuitive, like they know when they're hungry, they know when they're full, like they eat when they're hungry, and they eat when they stop when they're full. Like it's like basically intuitive eating is like getting back to the way your body should eat without like any outside noises or voices telling you how you should eat.
Well, on some level, it's like totally letting go of control.
It is.
Then.
Oh, it
and
is.
It's just
100%.
letting your body decide.
100%.
It's not about the mind at that point.
And I actually like studied it because it's actually like a thing.
Yeah.
But I studied it for a while, and I think that was really like part of my journey. So I had to go from like total restriction and binging and that to obsession to like letting go of everything. I mean, I had to let go of every food rule I ever knew. I had to let go of any like certain type of way to eat. I mean, I had to just like be okay. I had to like be okay with like eating cookie anytime to getting to the point now where it's like I know, like I just know the way my body functions. Like I know what makes me feel good when I eat. I know what like maybe doesn't feel as good as on my stomach. And instead of now being like listening to the outside telling me like, well, you shouldn't eat that, you should eat this, you shouldn't eat that, you should eat, it's more of like, well, I want to eat this because that's going to make me feel good and give me enough energy to keep going for the day with my kids. Whereas like, well, if I'm going to eat that, I might save it for later just because like it'll probably make me kind of tired. Like, you know, like a big piece of chocolate cake at like 2 p.m. like might make me kind of tired for the rest of the day, but maybe I'll have like a little bit after dinner and then I'll like go to sleep. You know, it's like, it's just kind of like I've gone from like intuitive where it's like you have to just like let go of everything and be like, I can have a cookie right now. It's okay. I can have it no matter how it makes me feel. Because I need to understand that it's not restricted. And then now it's kind of like I'm at the point where it's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And that was part of the journey. But now it's kind of like, well, I don't really want that right now. You know what I mean? Whereas before I almost like had to let myself have it. Because I needed to know I could have it.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's weird, but.
And I think like that, like a lot of people tend to think with intuitive eating, like, oh, then I'll just eat like cookies and cake all the time. And maybe what I'm hearing you say too is like, maybe at first that's true, but then over time you'll start to know what feels good. And then your body will start to crave what feels good, not just in the short term, but in the long term to get you to do what you need and move through it.
And I think that's like a lot of people's like the hindering of the thought of intuitive eating because they're like, oh my gosh, I will just eat cookies and cake all day. And some people do, and that's no judgment zone. But like, you most likely won't for long. Like nobody's gonna feel good eating cake all day. You know what I mean? But I think the middle ground of intuitive eating does is like between having the disorder, like then I had no idea how I felt when I felt. I didn't know when I felt hungry. I didn't know when I felt full. I didn't know. I was so out of tune with the way I felt. I had no idea.
Because eating wasn't even about that.
No, and I didn't even know what felt good. I just followed a certain pattern of like what I should eat, so to say. And lived on literal, like, I was vegan for a time and I lived on like nuts and seeds and vegetables, and now I barely eat nuts and seeds, and like I've just like eat so much more now than I've ever eaten and feel the best I've ever felt. It's crazy. It's mind blowing. It's like I feel like I was so depleted of nutrients back then. I literally had no energy, no nothing. There was even a point where they told me that my iron and my stuff was so low that I would never have children if I stayed the way I was.
Wow.
I lost my period for years. I was like literally so depleted. And so anyways,
and again, that's so common too.
Oh yeah,
so common.
And like even like in the name of health, like, you know, I followed all this like again, just like mostly vegetables and nuts, but like that's just like not enough. Like you like, I don't know. There's just so many things that I've added in recently that have made me feel so much better. Just like between raw milk and like I always did nut milk forever, and that's totally fine. Some people are great on nut milk, but like changing to raw milk has made me feel like 1,000 times better. I used to get such bad stomach. I have had no stomach aches for like almost like a year, and I like have been going to every doctor and like naturopath everywhere. It was like I was constantly searching for like what was gonna fix me, and then like changing the way I ate. And like adding more in and more carbs and more protein and more, actually less veggies and more fruit has like made me feel 100 times better. It's crazy. I don't know how to explain it, but it's wild.
And I think like bodies change over time, and the needs our bodies have evolve over time.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that like listening to what pain is present. That sometimes we're just so used to, oh, my stomach always hurts.
That's
when,
how
like,
I lived forever. And Thomas was like, this is, like, I can't deal with you like this.
Like,
He's
it's
like,
not okay.
You've got to, like, something, like, this is not normal. You need to understand, like, you got to do something. He's like, we can't live like this. And I'm like, I know, but, like, it's just the only way I know. It was, like, the only way I knew for so long.
I'm proud of you for being, like, so brave to, like, completely throw away that rule book, because I think like
I don't even remember what I used to know.
Hold on to that, you know. Like people are so tightly wound upon like I have to have like this smoothie every morning and then like this for lunch, and if I don't, like it's not okay. I think the whole journey, I guess, if anything, goes to show with all of it is I've had to let go of so much stuff. I feel like I've been like, I almost feel like I've been like in a ball. And I've like slowly, like almost like a yarn ball. And like over the years, like the yarn has slowly loosened and it's like becoming really soft. And like I was so rigid and so focused and so tight. Thomas always told me, like, you need to chill out. He's like, you're like wound up. Like you need to chill out. But he's also like the most relaxed. Nothing bothers him anytime. And it's like, but I don't know how to be like, I can't do
like,
that.
I don't know how to be that chill, but like, I want what you have. You know, he just had, always had such a peace over him and such just like a calm. And it was just like, I don't know how to be like you, but I kind of want to be like you. But like, I want to be my own person.
You're crazy.
Yeah, but you're also kind of weird. No, but I love him. But but he's definitely been a big part of the journey of everything. Just like, And honestly, having kids every child has humbled me in a whole different level because I've just had to let go of more and more and more. You know, with T, it was like, we were going to do this a certain way and we're going to do this a certain way. And then you had Noah and it's like, okay, well, I don't actually have time to do that with you right now. But like, so I'm going to have to let you do something else because, you know, and then it's like, then with Roman, it's like, oh gosh, you know what? They're kids. Just let them play outside. It's fine. Just
they'll
like,
be fine.
Let them free range outside. They'll be fine. Go play with sticks. Go dig in the dirt. Like, I don't care. It's fine. Like, that's what kids are for. They're supposed to play. It's childhood. Sorry. And so it's like, you know what? It's just like all of those things. Like, that's kind of like where I've come from. It's like from being so rigid to, and I still get stressed out and whatever.
'Cause you're a person.
I'm a person and I get overwhelmed and they drive me crazy, but I love them so much. But it's like all of that I almost feel like been part of the healing journey. Of the food too. Of everything. It's like, I feel like I can breathe again, kind of. I feel like for so long it was like I was always holding my breath. Like I couldn't ever get a deep breath. And like now it's like I feel like I can like kind of breathe. Well, I could definitely breathe, but you know what I mean?
It feels lighter. It's not that weight on your chest anymore.
It's wild.
When you first started opening up and letting yourself kind of eat outside of that rule book, did emotions like shame and guilt and like challenging emotions come up? And how did you deal with them? How did you get past that and continue?
That's a good question. Probably not gracefully. I'm sure.
Just real.
I don't know. Now, I'm not like a super reflective person.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't always think about stuff when I'm in it till I'm way out of it. And so I've been becoming more reflective as having the boys so little and being like, whoa, like time really goes so fast. And so like focus, like I've become more reflective. But so in that time, I definitely like eating those foods were like not okay to me. Like sugar was like the devil back in the day for me, like truly. And so like having to break that, I mean, it was a struggle. And it kind of just went from like seasons of like binging more to like binging less, and then kind of like less, and then kind of like, well, it's only been one time in like 4 months, or it's only been 2 times in 6 months, or like it started like spacing out a lot more. But it was a slow healing. Like I feel like when people are going through it, they just want to be fixed so quickly, and nothing is fixed quickly ever. And it is painful and it's very hard, but I think having people that you can like talk to and have in your corner is like really important. And again, like bringing light to darkness. But I mean, yeah, you go through, I think, a lot of shame and guilt because you have just like this picture in your brain of like how you should eat. Whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. But it's like, then you like try to let go of those rules, and it's like, well, I can't. Like, I can't. Like that, like I can't eat sugar. Don't you understand? I can't eat sugar. And it's like, but you need to. Like, and this is just an example. I'm not saying like whatever. But and so yeah, I think I definitely went through a lot of it. I don't really know how I coped. I don't know if I definitely don't have any tips.
It was, you were just making your way through it.
I was just kind of like making my way, like one day at a time. That's it. And I don't know if there's any like certain way I did it, or if I did it well, or good or bad. I don't know, but I'm out of that now.
And you did
and
it.
I made it through, and it's probably like semi drowning my way through it, but like here I am now. I'm so thankful.
Definitely. And it's been cool to hear how much your kids have helped like shift your evolution with food and been such an integral part of your healing process. And I'm curious about like, maybe you've thought about this, maybe you haven't, but is it a conscious thing when like you approach food with your kids, like to pass on like different relationships with food for them so they can have, you know, not a similar experience, can feel more positive associations versus restrictive associations with food, because a lot of it can come from like our upbringing too. A lot of mine did 100%. And I look back now and realize my mom was just trying to do her best. Like I see now what she was doing, but the way we grew up like was very, very, very restrictive. And so you would come over and we would eat a pint of chocolate ice cream.
And I would usually go home and probably throw up because most of the time I would eat so much ice cream. My mom would be like, you always come home green and throw up. And I'm like, yeah, that's because I don't ever get sugar.
And then I'm at Holly's house and there's all the sugar.
Yes, and then I'd go to Mimi's and they had all the sugar, and Nikki, and it was just like, restriction definitely can lead to binging. I mean, it was ingrained in me from a young age. I mean, I remember hiding in the pantry as a little girl and like shoving. Oh, we only had Hershey chocolate at the lake, and I remember like Hershey chocolate and Jif, and I would just like eat it, and it was like till I could like not eat it anymore. And like looking back, I'm like, wow, like I really dealt with food problems like from like probably like age 4 or 5, which T is 4.
And from your mom's perspective, it was like a very pure intention of like, I want not processed food for my kids. I want whole,
it's funny
healthy...
because I'm starting to feel that way about my kids, and it's like, oh wow, like you can see like I was very intentional with it about tea in the beginning because I didn't want him to ever think a cookie was good or bad. But then I do see, and he was never really affected by anything when he was little, but now like as he gets older, we do notice, and it's like people like our family notices, it's like a night and day difference. But when he has food dye, he's a very hyperactive child, and when he has food dye, he is times 1,000. And it is like insane. And it's so funny because I never wanted to be the mom that restricted anything from my kids, but there is a point where if something's not like doing well with them, like it's almost like my duty to we do let him have it here and there, but like we notice such a difference that so I try to buy stuff without food dye, and does 1,000 times better. But like, I'm still not trying to restrict sugar. It's not like I don't want him to think like sugar is bad or some certain things are bad or good. To be honest, like half my kids like don't even eat vegetables right now, and I'm like, you know what? Oh well.
Yeah.
Like maybe one day I always serve it, I always offer it, but I never ever tell them they have to eat that, they have to finish that, because they might not be hungry, and I don't want to just like stuff their stomachs if they're not hungry. Like they know if they're hungry or not.
Yeah. They're smarter than we are when it comes to
Yeah,
that.
and like yes, I get like you want your kids to eat well and like do all that stuff, and so like I do too. I get it.
Yeah.
Like there's stuff I make that is healthier and like has more nutrients in it, so that I know they're getting some nutrients in there. But like they really are kind of picky right now, and Noah's just picky because he does everything T does. But like T's like the ringleader here, and he like it sets the tone for everybody. But it's just like, I don't know. It's like trying to give them nutritious food with I really think it's like so much is moderation, in my opinion. Like,
yes,
just not stress. Like Thomas's family was very much raised in more of that moderation. Just like they never really restricted stuff and had it around, and they all have like much better relationships with food, especially at this point. But yeah, it's kind of just like, I don't really want to stress about it too much.
Yeah.
I don't want food to be I just want it to be like in a community and an enjoyment and like being around the table and sharing a meal together. I don't want it to be so much about like what the meal is. It's just more about like being together. Because everybody else has like different funds and stuff too. And some people can't afford more or less. And so it's like, you do your best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love that it's about the experience.
Yeah.
Around food and having positive associations with a meal.
Yeah.
With eating, with it's not good or bad. It's
Yeah.
about this time
Just
together.
being together. It's not really necessarily about what's on your plate. And I feel like that was so cultural back in the day. It's probably for you guys too. I mean, you guys like food it's always like a big celebration, right?
Yeah, for sure. And
You
I
know?
mean, I remember my parents, like, they would go to Tony Robbins seminars and come back and be like,
Yeah.
we're only eating raw greens, like, for the rest of eternity. And my grandparents would,
hilarious.
like, sneak us Burger King and
I
be
love
like,
it.
this ain't cool. Here
Yeah.
you go.
I love it.
You know? But
Yeah.
then times where it would be, I mean, if you look in my parents' cupboard now, it's, like, totally different.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. But
a
like
lot
food
of-
is like such a celebration, and it like
Yes.
should be enjoyed together. And it's like everything's so fast paced in the world these days, and people are
Yeah.
just like not eating as much together. And I just feel like it's so important to get back to the table and just like eat it. Like if you can cook it, great. If you can't. I mean, like
Yeah.
cooking doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be scientific. It doesn't have to be expensive. You buy what you can, and the whole point is like, yeah, just not putting such an emphasis on what it is.
Yeah.
Yes, we do try to eat more nutrient dense where we can, and we do try to add in that stuff, but like I don't want it to be such a stressor.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's like enough stuff in the world to stress about. Like food should be an enjoyment. It's like a pleasure, it's a joy, it's a gift. It's like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's a much different perspective than I used to have.
Well, it's similar,
Part of
it
the
sounds like, to
rigidness.
your healing process of like, right now when it comes to your kids, it's also about like letting go of control of food
it
still.
is.
And like,
It is, because some
yeah.
days it's really a struggle. It's like, well, you have not eaten, like you need to eat something, and it's like, well, maybe they don't. And it's like, well, okay, I guess that's another thing. Thomas is always my sounding board, and just always so like calm, and like he's like, they're not hungry, they're not hungry. And it's like, oh yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on, you
Yeah.
know. And it's like, well, I guess that's fine. But yeah, we try to eat together as much as we can. But I think that it's just like, yeah, just trying not to put so much emphasis on it.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely. So before we end today, is there like one bit of advice you would give someone on just how to like maybe find that freedom with food?
That's a good question. Let's see. I think, well, all of it in general, I think, is just really letting go.
Yeah.
But like just like letting go one day at a time, just like a little bit more. And also like I used to always be so focused on like the end result and like what's this week and next week and the next week
Yeah.
and the month, and it's like just focus on today.
Yeah.
Just one day at a time. And maybe don't even focus on the food. Maybe focus on like go take a walk outside. Like that was like a lot of the things I had to do instead of I forgot about this. Instead of like focusing on how do I fix my relationship with food, focus on something else. Go grow a garden. Go grow flowers. Go walk outside. Go grow one pot of herbs. You know what I mean?
yourself
Stop
of
thinking
everything
of
else.
food.
Yeah.
And just and that's incredibly hard because when you're in that, you're like constantly. I mean, it's easier said than done to do that. But just like instead of taking it in such a broad spectrum, like just take it one day at a time. And what is one thing you can do today that'll take your mind off of it and like focus on something else? Because I think the more you do that, you'll realize the more brain space is taken off of that and onto other things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
When we stop like fixating our focus and we
yeah.
can see the whole life
Like
around
look
us.
up, look around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
One day at a time.
Yeah. Well, how can people support you and your work? I know that Thomas just wrote a book.
Yes. So his book, Cookie Day, it's a children's book, and it's about, ironically, a mom and her daughter, we don't have girls, making cookies in the kitchen. It was based off of my chocolate chip cookies, but it is his first book in a line of hundreds of ideas that he has.
Yeah.
And all the other ones are like so boy adventure wise. But anyways, those will come one day. But for right now, he has Cookie Day. It has 3 exclusive recipes in the back that are easy cookie recipes to make with your kids.
Does it include yours?
So they're all mine. I made
Okay.
them all,
Wow.
but they're nowhere else except in the book.
Cool.
And why they're also so easy to make with kids, because you don't have to soften the butter, you just melt it. You don't like they're very foul proof. It's very easy. Like instead, it's like you can't mess up. They'll be good no matter what. Your kids will love them no matter what. There's like 3 different recipes. So that's on Amazon with hardcover and soft cover. And then we have Instagram, Daddio's Kitchen. We are on TikTok.
That face is
I
priceless.
say that we just put our recipes on there, and we don't talk to anybody on TikTok. Sorry. I don't. Yeah. Anyway, TikTok is such a funny place to me. Anyways, not going against TikTok, just saying. Our recipes are on there. So we are on TikTok and Instagram. We do have a website, daddiouskitchen.com, has all of our recipes,
And
all of
that
our
is
everything.
a great place to go to when you're cooking. I use it.
Thank
tons.
you. Thank you. Lots of baked goods, lots of sourdough, lots of tons of dinner recipes. That's like our bread and butter is dinner recipes. So yeah, I think those are the only places.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for coming over and playing with me as adults today.
I know. So fun. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to How the Wise One Grows today. If this podcast has been impactful in your life, can you support it by following and subscribing to this podcast on your favorite streaming platform? This will make sure you never miss an episode. All you have to do is go to the show page for How the Wise One Grows and hit the plus or the follow button in the top right-hand corner. While you're there, go ahead and leave a review, preferably a 5-star review, and share an episode with someone you love in your life. And if you want to support even further, you can join the How the Wise One Grows Dream Team and become a part of a group of magical people who support this podcast every month. And you'll even get a special shout out in an upcoming episode. Until the next time, let's keep taking it one breath at a time.